Hey everyone, it's day 6 of self-quarantine, and I gotta say, these past 2 days I've been feeling a little philosophical. I just thought maybe we could all come together and sing a song with a lot of great importance to me. Chilling out with the crew in the schoolyard.
Finding trouble, never working too hard.
Well, back at class, they never taught us this.
Some things you gotta learn, hit or miss.
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. Still hanging in there. Today we're going to look at another archetype that's being empowered by dual overload, given that it's apparently the last set Konami will ever be printing. Time to take a look at Konami's latest attempt to milk Darkside dry, Cubic. So here's the list, and shockingly, a lot has changed for an archetype that's been stagnant since its first release. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is a one-stop shop for deck building, deck uploading, card searching, and strategy articles, some of which are written by yours truly. I'm proud to represent them, and I encourage any player interested in deck building to check out their website at www.ygoprodeck.com. Now let's get quadratic. Cubic is the archetype used by Aigami in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions. You all remember Aigami, right? Everybody's favorite villain, Aigami? He's my second favorite character in the franchise. After Scud, of course. Anyway, cubic monsters have a bit of an identity crisis. Half of them require you to send or reveal other cubic monsters from your field and hand, and the other half are supposed to support their Marshmelon retrain, VJOM. Because of this, you're constantly at war with your own strategy, trying to simultaneously play as many differently named, miserably bad monsters as possible, and cycle through VJOM support. This discrepancy is for very specific anime reasons, so the characters' two on-screen duels aren't identical, but in the paper TCG, decks tend to appreciate consistent game plans. Thankfully, because of new support in dual overload, the deck finally has enough playables not to resolve the conflict, but to jettison half of the strategy. Their only powerful boss, Crimson Nova, requires you to reveal cubic cards with different names, not send different monsters. As a result, we can now cut to almost zero of the unplayably bad, never-summoned cubic monsters. What's more, we can take advantage of format staple and, Dark Magician support card, Magician's Souls, to squeeze some use out of our spell cards' graveyard effects and dig for Duza. Finally, we're maxed out on Cubic Dharma, a reasonable enough spell card, and one copy of Cubic Ascension, which summons 3 VJOM if you're really on the back foot. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, our Cubics. We're on 3 Crimson Nova, who's unaffected by monster effects below 3000 attack, 3 Duza, who Foolish Burial Goods is on summon, and 3 VJOM, who can't be destroyed by battle and negates effects. Finally, we're on one apiece of Doomvault, Gundeal, and Guile, 3 monsters we'll probably never summon, and 3 souls and an Apprentice Illusion. For spells, we're on 3 Desires, 3 Instant Fusion, 3 Lightning Storm because we're blinding second, 3 Goods, 3 Wave for OTKs, 3 Dharma to cycle and recycle, 3 Wave to search, 1 Ascension, and 2 Unification to link ladder. In the extra, we're on 1 Trinity. We're never summoning this card. 1 Mudragon and 1000 Eyes for Instant Fusion, Tornado, Baguska, Exoton, Abyss Dweller, and Dugaris for 4s, and a link suite of Boral Sword, Nightmare's Unicorn, Phoenix and Cerberus, Gardna, Controller, and Link Haribo. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Shaddoll. This game showcases not only our strategy's newfound ability to link ladder, but also a downside the deck has faced since its inception. Our opponent is going first. They're going to lead with a copy of Mathematician. That's going to send a Hedgehog to graveyard, which is going to add a copy of Squamata to hand. Next, they will hard fuse into a copy of Akapalone, and then activate the effect of Squamata in graveyard before link summoning a Cloth Heap and activating the effect of Akapalone. They're going to get an Aerial from deck, then activate Incarnation's effect in order to flip up that Aerial and special summon the Squamata that they just banished. Next, they'll link summon a copy of Construct and use its effect to go into another Construct. That triggers both Cloth Heap and the Construct on field and the Falco in graveyard. They're going to send a copy of L, and then afterwards they're going to activate Construct's effect and L Shaddoll Construct's effect in graveyard to get the L back and pass it back to us. Okay, we can beat this. Lightning Storm is going to have to be an MST here. This prompts an early activation of the El Shaddoll into a Shekinaga. Next, we'll activate the effect of Magician's Souls. They don't bite, so we pull the trigger on Instant Fusion to get that Shekinaga out of our life. They're going to activate the effect, but it is a hard once per turn. We're going to activate Souls, then normal summon a copy of Duza. We'll activate Nightmare Cerberus' effect to get rid of that Falco, so it's forced to reset itself and can't use its other, much better effect. We'll activate the effect of Duza. We are laddering, so we can activate the unification effects in Graveyard. Next, we'll link summon a copy of Unicorn and activate the unification as well to get another Duza to our side of the field. There's nothing we really want to send, so I send an Ascension, then activate Wave to get a copy of Crimson Nova. That's still a long way off, but we've cleared our opponent's board. For turn, they draw a copy of, it's a Dragon. That's kind of a removal spell, and a little bit of a problem for us. We'll attack, but we just don't have the pressure to close out the game in the next couple of turns. Hopefully our opponent doesn't find anything, but I find that unlikely. They draw a copy of Shaddoll Fusion. That's one of the very few blanks against our deck. We draw another Cubic. If we draw one more, we can go ahead and summon this Crimson Nova finally, but we'll have to not get OTK'd in the process. Unfortunately, they've finally drawn a monster. They'll bring back the Construct from Graveyard, triggering the Hedgehog to get a copy of Squamata. Next, they'll summon a copy of Construct with Construct's effect and trigger the Grave effect of Squamata, sending a Falco, as well as a Reshadol Wendy off of the Construct's effect. They're going to special summon the Falco back, then trigger Wendy for a copy of Beast. Ooh, this is looking quite bad. They'll attack. Thankfully, this monster was special summoned, so we're not getting OTK'd as the effect is mandatory. Thankfully, we do find a Cubic off the top, so we'll go into Crimson Nova. We'll wave our Nova in order to bring our opponent's attack down to 14. Then we'll put a counter on it so it can't activate its effect. Not that it would matter anyway. We'll deal 46, and then after our opponent activates a couple of effects, we'll activate the second of Crimson Nova. They're dead in the end step, so after activating Beast and finding nothing, they'll concede. Our second match is up against Snowflower. There are two takeaways from this game. Firstly, while Crimson Nova is an incredibly powerful card, it's not particularly good against more innovative forms of removal. And secondly, we cannot possibly play first. We're going to lead with a copy of Foolish Burial Goods, sending a Wave to Graveyard. We'll activate Wave for a copy of Duza, then normal summon a copy of Duza, sending a Wave, then activating Wave to get a copy of Crimson Nova. We'll special summon this Magician's Souls from our hand before special summoning the Crimson Nova, activating Dharma, and then activating Magician's Souls to draw a couple of cards. We don't find much, so we'll go into Link Rebo and pass. We both take 3,000 at end step, and that's about as good as I can hope for. Our opponent's going to lead with White Rose Cloister, and then get a Petal to their side of the field. Next, they're going to activate Stunning, tributing the Petal, and then special summoning a Prim from their hand. They'll activate Snowdrop's effect, and ooh, that's two monsters on their side of the field, and a Swirling as well. Oh god, if we're forced to tribute things, this is going to get very bad. They're going to target our monster with Teardrop, but thankfully its original attack is under 3,000. We'll go ahead and activate Cubic Wave's effect. At this point, I'm expecting that Set Spell or Trap to be one of their tribals, and those tribute. I can't risk not having another monster on board, so I normal summon a Magician's Souls before going to the battle phase. We'll attack into our opponent's monsters, and thankfully, neither of them are particularly powerful. We'll get in for 300, but we are only at 2,000 life points. If our opponent can do anything with their special summoned copy of Petal, we are in for it. They're going to activate Petal's effect and add a copy of Snowdrop to hand, which they will tribute summon. Afterwards, they're going to trigger the effect of Peony and the effect of Stunning. That's why we have a copy of Linkaribo. Next, they'll activate Monster Reborn for a copy of Cyclone and a Stunning. Oh no, they've gone into their Tribal Honest. They'll make their rank 6 and in damage step walk over our copy of Crimson Nova. They get in, and we just don't have the life points to live. Okay, losing to Snowflower is pretty pathetic. But let's see if we can top it here. It's time for Game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Orcust, but it's a very interesting and innovative take on the deck. They're on a ton of the new World Legacy stuff, including Key Smasher. I hope this is the next step in Orcust evolution. Our opponent's going to lead with a copy of Dark Greffer. They'll trigger the Grave effect of World Wand. How often do you get to see that? Before going into Key Smasher, special summoning back a copy of Nightmare, triggering Key Smasher and setting Awakens. Next, they'll activate World Wand to get back this copy of Symbol Skeleton for Galatea. They'll activate Galatea's effect to set a copy of Babel. Next, they will activate Nightmare in Graveyard in order to send a Gizmek. They'll activate Babel and Gizmek's effect so they can safely overlay for a copy of Dingirsu attaching from their banished zone. They'll link summon a copy of Blocker before passing it back to us. That's a bad draw. We'll lead with a copy of Foolish Burial Goods, then activate Karma, fetching an Ash. I really needed that to resolve. Well, we'll fire a Pot of Desires. Maybe that'll get us out of it. It doesn't. We'll activate Dharma and Instant Fusion. At the very least, we can prompt the Awakens. What are they going into? Let's find out. It's... Zero Voros. Okay, well, Lib is going to shuffle back this copy of Dharma. At least I can banish my opponent's board before setting a singular card. This Ascension should get me out of this. My opponent's going to bring back a copy of Dingirsu, and it's at this point I realize, for some reason, I can't activate Ascension. There's no way that... No, come on! Maybe I should just stop playing Desires entirely. It never works out for me. Ah well, it's time for game 2, and at the very least we're going second. You can see a Dragon Buster Destruction Sword in our opponent's opener. Maybe I'll have to revise my stance on unions. They're going to lead with, what else? A copy of Armageddon Knight. That's going to send a copy of Orcust Nightmare to the graveyard, which will send a copy of World Wand, triggering the graveyard effect again. That's 2 for 2. They'll bring back the Nightmare to go into Galatea, then activate Galatea's effect, this time getting a copy of, Crescendo. They'll link summon along Gearsu, set 2, and it looks like they've basically drawn all of their garnets. We'll activate Foolish Burial Goods for a Karma, and this time at the very least it resolves. We'll special summon this copy of Crimson Nova, and then prompt this copy of Orchestrated Climax as we attempt to activate the effect of Magician's Souls. That's fine. We'll Dharma away this Karma, and then normal summon a copy of Duza, which is now certain to resolve. We'll go for a Unification, and then get in for a fair amount of damage. We'll do 35, and then 16. At this point, I'm just styling a little bit, trying to close all of the possible outs my opponent might have. We'll Unification as we Guile, and then use Duza to send another Unification so we can go into Phoenix. We'll activate Phoenix's effect and Unifications. They're going to called by the graveyard copy of Duza, so I'll get a V-Jam from my deck instead. We're going to destroy their entire board, and then at end step, burn them out. So it's time for that all-important game 3, and has my opponent drawn a warrior 3 games out of 3? Well, such is life. They're going to start with a copy of Orchestrated Return, then normal summon a copy of Dark Grepher, and then activate Orcust Nightmare's effect in order to send a copy of World Wand and World Wand to bring back the Nightmare. They're going to link summon a copy of Galatea, then activate Symbol Skeleton's effect before activating Galatea's effect for a Babel. After that, they're going to, overlay for a Dingirsu, activate Dingirsu's effect, link summon a copy of Galatea, and succession a Galatea back so neither can be destroyed. They're going to set 1 card and pass it back to us. Okay, we might be able to do it, though 2 Desires is a little sus. We're going to activate Desires, trying to prompt that counter trap here. Unfortunately, they have correctly saved it for the Duza. We're going to activate Dharma, but we have to find something miraculous to get us out of it. We're going to activate Instant Fusion. They'll chain and get a Dingirsu to their side of the field so they can eat our Restrict before we can activate it, and that's the end of the game. So we're back with the deck, and yeah, this is about as powerful as I thought an anime-exclusive deck was going to get. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. It's consistent. Unlike previous versions of the deck, which were open, Duza, or die, the draw power that this deck now possesses is so absolute that it's almost impossible to end on a hand that doesn't include something. 2. Links were extremely good for the deck. No longer do you have to rely on cubics to set up Unification, now you're more than capable of losing Duza to link ladders. And 3. Crimson is an extremely specific type of towers, and many meta decks are ill-equipped to combat the cubic lord. And the cons. 1. Going second just isn't as easy as it used to be. While the deck can easily deal with Union Carrier locks and the occasional negate, anything with Appaloosa access will eat it alive. 2. The deck still has almost no capacity to go first. This has always been a weakness for the strategy, but it's all the more apparent when you begin your game at 5,000 life points in an OTK meta. And 3. It's extremely telegraphed. One downside to jettisoning your beast strat is that now it's completely apparent what you plan to do from the outset. Your opponent can do whatever it takes to beat Crimson. It's not like you're going to win with anything else. All in all, it's a huge buff for Cubic, but while the decks become eons more consistent, it's not an inch more adaptable. And in this metagame, that's a heck of a liability. So that's that. Thanks to my patrons, Protagify, Tyler Slacks, Miko Reichman, Crispy, Sir Tachyon, Dan the Man Hoban, Bleb, Blake Root, Standards Objective, Jeff Leonard, Emperor Stove, TJ Steakhouse, Pro Yugi Dad, Picnic Blasted, Burrito Man 93, Fighting Fang Wong, Donnie Fillerup, Meatmoto 27, Adam Sunquist, Isaac Jackson, Second, Lucas Geardas, Adam Trevino, Adrian Bra, and others. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.